All right, we're live on Friday. How's everybody out there doing? Finally made it to Friday with all our technical difficulties and everything else going on as well. So how y'all doing? We'll briefly stop in here on the weather while people jump in to give everybody a preview of their day. Weather coming across the country at you. We had our deluge. I guess it's going to be clear for the rest of the weekend, so we are getting off lucky. We'll get to actually get some things done this weekend, where we have been hindered the last couple with all the weather, etc. Let me get this out. Yeah, there's some pretty good video of some of the snow we got up in the mountains this weekend, this last couple days. Feet, easily, feet upon feet upon feet. It's a good time. See if we got anybody in the chat out here. You can see that long line of snow coming out of Canada. And I always get confused about which state is which when you look up at Edmonton's in Alberta, correct? Wish Stan was in here. We're going outside chat. We got Walker Outdoors. How you doing? M. Long is with us, and Barry Wood is a wet 38. It's showing some pretty good amounts of snow up there in the Cascades, Barry. You're going to have some more rain coming to you, M. Long, it looks like. Along with some more in the southeast, and the Rockies are getting, and Utah are getting some pretty good moisture right now as well. But if you want to be a fair warning, if you want to avoid money talk and stuff, get out now, because that's about everything I got lined up has something to do with money in the economy. So be fair warned before we get started. That is the nature of today's hangout, it looks like. You're 3 hours east, Barry. Well, it's coming to you. Don't worry, we'll get to you eventually, I guess. All right. So where do I start? That's the question. A couple of different things popping up, but let's just start with the most ominous, I guess. We'll start there. China has responded to the threat of tariffs with their own 128 different products, it looks like, including pork, wine, fruit, and steel. Tit for tat in some respects because of the steel you think about. I don't know how much wine we sell in China, but pork, as far as exports, that's a big one. China eats a lot of pork. We export a lot of pork, especially when we talk about states like Virginia, North Carolina, where it's going to get felt the hardest. Who would have thought in the 21st century we would be resorting to 18th century means? I think we'd have figured this out by now, that this is not going to work out well for anybody. And it only hurts the business and the consumer ultimately. I should say the business can do fairly well. They find different markets and they're just going to have higher prices. But definitely the consumer gets it in the shorts in most of these deals. So that's what came on the heels of the president's tariff list. So China imported about $3 billion worth of goods in 2017, including dried fruit nuts, modified ethanol, ginseng. It's hard to believe we send ginseng to China. That tells you how much, when you talk about natural economic principles that go off of competitive advantage, China's got tons of land, but yet we're still able to ship them ginseng at an advantage. I mean, that's ingenuity. It's good stuff. But those types of products could see a 15% duty and a 25% tariff could be imposed on U.S. pork and recycled aluminum, according to what China said. So just coming back and battling back and forth. We'll see how long this lasts. I don't know what the end goal is. Total U.S. imports. So that was the $3 billion that was targeted, or those that they put a tariff on. Total Chinese imports from the U.S. are 172 billion expected this year. So that's a small, minuscule fraction of total imports to them. And it was kind of the same on our end when we were imposing imports on our things coming into here. They were Trump's tariff affected $60 billion worth of imports into the United States. And we have a much higher dollar figure that we import theirs that didn't cover that in here. I didn't see it. But everything old is new again when it comes to that. I found it interesting that Kramer over here on CNBC is one of their talk show economic guys. He's been around for a minute. Was talking about how the Wall Street declines over the week were all about Trump and the elites. So I would take it as there's always a sliver of truth in everything. In that respect, Kramer's in the club, so let's don't be fooled. But they had a big decline yesterday. The market was down, what, 700 points, something like that. They're saying it's primarily because of this trade war. There's a lot of other stuff going on, though. A lot of uncertainty and different things. But he's primarily pinning on this. And his quote here, as long as the 1% believes in free trade at any cost, it's going to weigh on the stock market when the president goes in the opposite direction. Let that sink in real quick. As long as the 1% believes in free trade at any cost. Is that a true statement? The jury would say no. The 1% believes in trade for them, not for anybody else. They believe they should be able to trade, but they want to take out their competition. Don't be fooled. The 1% do not want to have competition to work against. Tariffs in many ways, things like this, just like any tax, the uber big corporation can absorb the cost a lot of times, at least for a time, until things get settled and sorted out. It's the little guys, the small middleman, the little guy that does a small business and any type of business like this that gets hurt. Just like with any tax, it takes them out, takes out the competition. The 1% does not believe in free trade. I would just say that. It's all perspective in that statement. So he says President Trump does not share that orthodoxy, and it's starting to dawn on the business community that the free ride may be over. A sign of times to come, maybe. So that was an interesting article. We'll get these out in the description box as we're going. So going along with that, they passed a budget last night. I told you it was going to be all about money. I warned you all to run. They say they avoided a government shutdown with passing that obscene $1.3 trillion spending plan. It's interesting how everybody calls it a spending plan and not a budget, because it's not a budget if you don't, stay within your means, right? So I think it's spending plan is definitely appropriate in these regards, but that got passed, and all through the Rand Paul. If you can find any stories on him, go to his Twitter feed on Rand Paul. If you can find his Twitter feed, he went through his Twitter feed and went page by page showing all the just misspent stuff. It is abhorrent. You can't put it any other way. It's, I don't know. there's things I can't say on the live stream that would, and it should be said that I would get picked up probably for saying, because those torches and pitchforks should come out when people read that, but too many people are emotionally tied to half of that stuff they put in that bill, and everybody's feelers. Oh, look what we're doing for the children, or look what we're doing for this, and everybody's little pet project gets funded when they all conspire together to do things like this. So 2,200 pages. It was passed with a 65 to 32 vote, which they're calling bipartisan, of course, because there's a couple of Republicans that voted no, a handful of Democrats voted yes to get them over the 65. That's in the Senate. And remember, it came out of the House originally. So here's what we're getting to next. So this story quotes Trump's tweet from a couple of days ago. I guess it was Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening, talking about the $700 billion for the debt sucker that is the military. $716 billion total, most ever. Just what we need, right? $1.6 billion to start a wall. Oh, where's that money going? You got to wonder. But the latest and greatest, hot off the presses this morning, Trump has threatened to veto this bill over DACA, his pet little project with the illegals. And his border wall isn't funded enough. So he's threatened to veto the $1.3 trillion. And in his tweet, which is about the only way you see communications, it seems like, it leaves 800,000 plus DACA. It says they've been abandoned by the Democrats, and I'm wondering why we care. And the border wall is not fully funded. And he says his national defense is not fully funded in this tweet, but they're getting the most funding ever. What's the deal, Donald? Why are you conflicting with what is plainly obvious? It's a total increase in overall debt. It's an increase in just about every spending budget within the spending plan. Every different department's budget is increased, but yet it's not enough. People are being played for fools to get out there and get their emotional feelings hurt over their little pet project. Whether it's illegals or military, depending on which side of the fence people claim to stand on, they're getting herded in the same direction by the same fence. So I don't know where we stand on that today as at this minute, but it says the government will shut down at 12:01 a.m. Saturday if Trump does not sign a funding bill into law. We might have another government shutdown party tonight. You never know. Back in the side chat, we got You Could Do It. Join us. Good morning. If you've dug out of your snow yet. M. Long says cheap. I don't know if it'll be cheap bacon because the prices are going to raise in China. It shouldn't really increase it here. I don't know if it'll increase supply here because there's a certain amount of demand that China has to get from the outside. It depends if they find an alternate source, and if the United States can't export it, then yeah, there's going to be a surplus here. So yeah, M. Long, then it would be cheaper here. Is the way to look at it. It just depends on how it plays out. Kunis Plauderecki, good morning. Welcome to the chat. And Walter Davis is with us. Good morning. Well, Walter, you can say any budget, but a budget that breaks the bank isn't any different than a continuing resolution that breaks the bank too. Really, there's no difference. In a continuing resolution, they spend whatever they want. In this budget, they spend whatever they want. And half the times they can't even tell you what they're spending on. And it's all wasted deadweight loss anyway. So it's such as the times we live of the succubus of DC. So that got us through the first 10 minutes or so. tariff spending bill. Let's see what else we got going out here. Anybody? Okay, I think I had to. That was weird. I had a lag in my chat here. You can do it. Says the snow is almost melted. It's springtime. It's going to go quick, right? Walter asked, does the line item veto passed for Obama apply to Trump? I don't think there's a line item veto in place. I don't think even Obama had it. I think you might be a little misled there, Walter. I don't think there is a line item veto for the president. Clinton asked for it years ago. And do a quick search for it. So I'm not going to go to the wiki because wiki is not a reference, as we all know, right? It was tried to implement under Clinton 96. Yes, yes, yes. Mm-hmm. Here's an article from 2017 talking about the lineup. So while we're here, we'll talk about it. Why presidents still can't do it. The line of veto is sometimes called the partial veto. Down why he does it. Okay, the history of it. In 1996, Clinton signed the Line Item Veto Act, which was championed by John McCain and Bob Dole. Go figure. If McCain was behind it, it can't be a good idea. What if we don't know then what we know now? President Clinton used it in 1997 for the first time to cut 3 measures from an expensive spending and taxation bill. So it did used once. Clinton used it 2 more times in 1997, cutting 1 measure from the Balanced Budget Act of the Balanced Budget Act of 97, and 2 provisions of the Taxpayer Relief Act of 97. So New York challenged the line item veto in court. So here's where it went. The Federal District Court in D.C. declared the Line Item Veto Act unconstitutional. It was appealed to the Supreme Court in a 6-3 ruling issued in 1998 in Clinton versus New York upheld the court's decision. So the Supreme Court said you can't use it. So there you go. It looks like that's where it ended. Constitutional argument says that a legislative process by declaring that any bill before being presented to the president must have passed by the Senate and the House. In using the line item veto to delete individual measures, the president is actually amending bills, a legislative power granted exclusively to Congress by the Constitution. Okay, that's maybe a legitimate argument the court got right there. So it's been a long time. Nobody's used the line item in many decades now. We're 2 decades out. It's no wonder I'd forgotten about it. It's dead in the water. So that's the line item veto situation. So no, Trump can't line item veto, or he won't. Well, he can't. I guess he could, but I don't think I don't know how that would work, considering it's not technically part of law anymore. So 1.3 trillion getting shoved down our throat, and maybe even more so if Trump throws a hissy fit long enough to get more money dumped into it for his pet projects. News at 11. So we got all day to track that if you felt so inclined. Back in the side chat. All right. Moving on out of the budget debacle that is Washington, D.C. It was an interesting story on cryptocurrencies. A Swiss foundation is using $30 million to start a non-volatile cryptocurrency. So I guess they're gonna make something that doesn't, 0 to a million. You would have to back it with something, you would think. Let's see how this works. I guess Saga is the name of the coin that they're going to, the cryptocurrency they're going to call it. It's a notional non-volatile cryptocurrency. The foundation has already accrued $30 million in investments. Plans to issue tokens at an initial price of $0, entitling its investors to a rising number of Saga as usage of the cryptocurrency grows. I don't know how that's going to work. So here's the kicker. Here's how it's much, much different than any other cryptocurrency. Purchasing these tokens, these Saga tokens, will require owners to pass an anti-money laundering check and allow national authorities to check the identity of a Saga holder when required, providing zero anonymity. Okay, I don't know why you would need this. I mean, they have so many wire transfer protocols and stuff. Why not just go that route? It's all electronic anyway. That's funny. I don't know that that gets you anywhere. Again, that's the best part of any cryptocurrency is the anonymity of it, with some of the security features as far as checking the legitimacy and everything. It says they are not aiming for Saga to replace any fiat currencies, but to be a complementary global currency. And we already have a global currency. Also, we have global money called gold. But, who wants to be tied down to real value? Interesting. That's funny that it's going to have absolutely no anonymity, but yet they're considering it as an option. That's just hilarious. Dump that into the description box down below. All right. Anybody got anything out there? We got about 10 more minutes before we cut out of here. You guys want to throw anything into any other suggestions? We looked up the line item veto. That was a good one. Little side project. If you weren't aware of your weather, there's your reminder. Lots of weather coming through the middle of the country. The Rockies and the Midwest there, or plain states. My chat window did not refresh. I can't see what you guys are saying if you're saying anything at all. Give me a second. Oh, there we go. No, Saga, not Saiga. It's spelled differently. It's just S-A-G-A, Walter. It's not it's not the rifles, the shotguns. I wouldn't advise getting anything that's not has any type of ID check to it. That's Mark of the Beast stuff when you have to verify your ID to use currency. Yeah, M. Long, we discussed that when we were going through that budget stuff. Yeah, Rand Paul's, go check Rand Paul's Twitter on a lot of that stuff. Hey, don't worry, it's clear right now. You can do it. Your weather is clear for a portion of the day at least. See what you get tomorrow. I didn't check out the forecast because we're getting right into that stuff. Oh, you have another winter storm coming. You can do it. At least that's the way this looks. Uma, they're calling it. Oh no, just what you wanted to hear, right? Real quick, check in on that just for my own amusement, I guess. But it says bringing snow from the Midwest to the Appalachians through Saturday. Narrow swath of heavy snow in the Midwest, stretch from the Dakotas to the Ohio Valley and the Appalachians. Some areas just received snow a few days ago. We'll see more snow. So this is what they're from today until tomorrow, looks like. So to catch everybody up with what you're looking for, pulling everything out of the Gulf over into M Long territory. Something to look forward to. So Saturday, it looks like it's reaching into the south and lower Ohio. So it may dodge you there. You can do it. So you might be safe through this weekend. This storm's going through the south, it looks like. So you're safe. All right. So that gets you through Sunday. M Long, it's going to run right over the top of you. You might be in trouble. But that's the main storm they're talking about. For that case, I did have one last story. Since I've got no other recommendations, this is more local, based out here in the West. But we got infiltrators from California trying to influence our elections. A billionaire trying to spend at least $2 million for our Senate and governor races against the sitting senator and one of the ones running for governor. So the communists infiltrating with their money to organize young voters, they say, and get them to the polls. So the assumption is that young voters will vote communist and support the Democratic agenda. There you go. He's a San Francisco-based hedge fund tycoon. He's going to spend $2 million on voter turnout in Nevada to go after, in particular, these two races. So basically, it's going to be these guys are racist. Go vote for the future, whatever. And defend the U.S. House seats currently held by the Democrats in the South. They plan to knock on at least 45,000 doors around the state in a separately funded effort. And it's a part of a broader effort. He's spending $30 million nationwide to help push Democrats to seize control of Congress by mobilizing 18 to 35-year-old voters in 10 political battleground states. He spent $91 million on a similar effort in 2016 and another $20 million in an attempt to impeach Donald Trump. This guy's got lots of money to throw around. Man, why doesn't he fund the budget? He could fund all the DACA recipients and have them all live in their own houses probably if he just spent his money wisely. He wouldn't have anything to complain about. But no, we have to have the government do it. So there you go. The communists are throwing money around everywhere in an attempt to undermine everything going on. So I found that interesting, something to be on the lookout for. It doesn't help that half the Republicans in the state are turncoats and have no principles, so nobody really wants to support them anyway. People just won't show up to vote, except for those financially incentivized to go vote by either cash or future incentives of things like your free education and your free this and that, which is all Democrats have. Sad state of affairs, my friends. Sad state. So we'll continue to watch this veto threat through the day, see if that on a past budget today and what ends up with that. There was some brief flashing news you see in the top left corner here. You probably want to go maybe just check it out. There was some sort of attack in Paris this morning or today Paris time. Some sort of assault killed 2, it looks like. A couple of headlines running around, something to look into. But we'll track this budget thing through the day and see if we're going to be able to celebrate a government shutdown for a day or 12 hours like we did last time, or if it's just more a business as usual, DC spinning us into oblivion, such as it is. All right, thanks everybody for coming out. Join the side chat. Remember, have the weekend. We're going to have a good hour-long chat tomorrow morning on Saturday. You never know what we might throw up. Might have a full chat sometime this weekend. So come join in on. But have a good Friday. Everybody stay alert, stay alive, live free.